Hey everybody, it's Barbara, and this review is a little bit different than the ones I've done previously. I'm not really going to be reviewing a doll per se, as I'm going to be reviewing their mobility, how posable they are. And the dolls that I have are the current Star Trek doll, Lieutenant Uhura, the Misty Copeland Barbie, and the very recent made-to-move Barbies, which are supposed to be quite posable. And what we're going to do is take the dolls through some poses just to see how really posable they are and what they can and cannot do. We're going to start with the made-to-move, who is all the way on the right. We'll do Misty, who's the ballerina, and we will do Uhura last. The very last part of this review is going to be looking at the dolls without their clothes on to look at the actual body features and how they are different, especially if you're someone who likes to make your own clothes and has to make a decision about cutting for patterns. So let's go ahead and start with the made-to-move and see what she can and cannot do posability-wise. If you will notice, I started with the made-to-move because she can in fact move quite nicely. She is standing right now, more or less, in the traditional second position of ballet. And like no other doll Mattel has ever created before, she can actually do the traditional first 5 positions of ballet. She can go into first, and it will hold. Second. She can do third, which are the lining of the arches. It's not going to hold terribly well, but you can do it. You can push the legs out forward and do 4th position. And you can also bring it back in for the 5th position, which is heel to toe. So if you wanted to have her do those exercises. Going back into 1st position, because she does have the bending knee, you can also have her doing, it won't look terribly elegant. Sorry, the stand popped off, but it's actually probably for the best, so you can see it on the ground. There you go. She can go into a plie, as you can see. What she can also do is a proper split. I did have her doing it before. Excuse me, 1 second. You have to straighten her legs back out again. And then from there, yes, here we go. She can do a almost perfect split. She can also do this very famous yoga pose. And if you stretch her hands out, she can do a crab and go all the way back, like so. Sitting her down on this little table here and putting her hands right in front of her. She can fold her hands very nicely. She can, like so. She's got the fully posable wrist. The arms stretch out. The elbows can bend very easily. And the shoulders, as you saw, can fully extend upward. And she can do that. So she is completely made to move. The one thing she cannot do is stand on her own. You will need to have a stand of some kind to hold her in place, whatever place that would be. Let's go ahead and take a look at Misty Copeland, who, as the ballerina, should have been able to do this as well. One foot down, the other bent back. And we'll see if Misty can do that too. Misty, the ballerina, can do the traditional split, as you can see here. She can also do the very famous yoga position, like so. Spread out her legs, properly position the back, and she can also arch backwards and do the crab. I'm going to trick this shot a little bit, that Misty can bend her leg back and have her hands, as you can see here, hold in position. I don't have the stand right in front of me to grab it, but she can do that. Stand up and hold. Scroll up so you can see it a little bit better. You can also see, by the way, what I warned you about in Misty's review, that if you cut the skirt off it will ruin the seam. It did. What Misty unfortunately cannot do is the lovely 5 positions. And that is because her feet have an exaggerated arch. I'm going to put Misty back on her stand and explain what that means. Going back to Made to Move and her feet. If you notice, originally the second position, when you do point work, you go up from the second position with your feet positioned like so, and you go straight up in the toe shoe like this, and that is how you traditionally get that arch. Now, Made to Move, because of the jointed ankle, can move around. Misty's feet, as I will scroll down and show you, Misty's feet have that permanent arch and don't move. There is no ankle joint. The joints begin, as you can see, traditionally at the knee. She also has, as you saw briefly, and I will show you by sitting her down, she has the jointed wrist, which can again move to wave, make a nice little seat. Her arms extend out, full rotation at both elbows and at the shoulder, so she can put her arms up in a traditional ballet pose. And again, she can, as I said, do the full, she can go backwards, if you ever want to see that. So that's Misty. And believe it or not, Misty is a lot closer to Lieutenant Uhura in terms of poseability than she is to Made to Move. And I will explain why in the next part of this video. Starting with Lieutenant Uhura and starting from the sitting position, as again, like Misty, like Made to Move, she has the fully jointed elbow. She has the wrist that allows her to wave. Her knees bend. And she can elegantly cross her feet. I do want to show you. The arch is not obviously as sharp as it is with Misty, but Lieutenant Uhura does have the traditional Barbie preset to wear high heels arch. So Lieutenant Uhura cannot do the first positions of ballet. She can, to a smaller extent, do a split, and pose very nicely. She can do the basic yoga pose. What she cannot do is the full back. She cannot go back all the way, and I'm not going to force it, but she cannot go back all the way because she does not have the break here that the other two dolls have. That break and their proportions is what we're going to talk about in the final part of the video. And to do that, we're going to have some doll nudity. So if you're going to be someone who doesn't like to see nude dolls for whatever reasons, now is the time to stop. If you don't object to doll nudity and would like to have a discussion about the proportions, then by all means, let's go ahead and do that. Let's have a look at them. A few years ago, I went to see the Radio City Music Hall Rockettes, and I got to meet one. It was a meet and greet, and she explained one of the tricks that they use to make you think that the Rockettes are exactly the same height. One of the tricks is to put the hair up and do the hair level at different poofiness, so you have that optical illusion that they're all the same height. Even though it looks right now that Misty might be a little bit taller than her comrades, that's because of the height and the stand. They are actually all, I did check, I took out a tape measure and did these measurements. They are all the traditional 11.5 inches. That puts it solidly in the 1/6 scale range. All of them also have a bust line of 5 inches if you would do the traditional bra measurements. What is different between Misty and Made to Move, as I said, that Lieutenant Uhura does not have. Lieutenant Uhura has the solid torso with no breaks. Misty and Made to Move, or Misty and Made to Move, have the break right at the bust line that allows them to make that, if I may turn Misty back and not use her as the model, this allows for the rotation to go all the way back and down. All of them also have, if you go from shoulder to hip, that torso measurement is 1.5 inches. So it does equal out even if there's a break right at the bust line. Where there is a major difference, and I'm going to pull these two away for a second to push Misty back a little further so you can see this. Take a look at Misty's legs. Misty's legs are 7.25 inches long, and that is because when you go from her arched foot to the knee, that is 4 inches, a perfect 4 inches. This is Lieutenant Uhura that I'm putting back into place. Lieutenant Uhura's knee to foot is 3.75 inches. So there's a difference of 1/4 of an inch. The same goes for the made to move. There is a difference of 1/4 of an inch. This goes 3.75 inches. Now originally, I thought that was because Misty's foot again has that uber arch. That's not it. I got the tape measure out and I looked. The foot itself is 3/4 of an inch. So is this foot, even though the arch is not as extreme. It is 3/4 of an inch. And made to move, which has the traditional flatter foot, still 3/4 of an inch. So really, if where Mattel spent the money was to elongate the actual leg of Misty Copeland as opposed to her thigh. And the reason, and I thought about it, and I remembered, and you might remember this too from the Misty review, I said that they had sewn in extra padding into her costume so her chest was more reflective of how Misty looks. And that was because, as I said, the chest sizes are all the same. Okay. If you would like, and if you're curious, by the way, the length of the arm, and I will extend made to move, the length of the arm is 4 1/4. 4 1/4 inches long. And it is the same for all of them. Sorry, the made to move is deciding to move to one direction and not stay. Now here's the other thing that I thought was a little weird. And I'll bring the heads back in again. When I first deboxed made to move, I looked at her and I said, this head is considerably larger than one of the other made to moves I bought at the same time, the one that is Asian. Looks larger than Misty's, looks larger than Uhura's. That too wasn't entirely wrong. Take a look at this. Uhura's head, even though it looks just at the side of it, looks a little bit wider than Misty's if you do a full profile side to side. It looks a little bit wider than hers. They are both 4 inches in diameter. Made to move, and this is where even the tiniest differences are noticeable. Made to move is 4.25 inches in diameter, 4 inches, 4 1/4 inches. So that last 1/4 inch does make a difference. Now, to be honest, I can't tell if it's because of the hair, which is pretty generous, nice and soft. But I truly believe that this doll actually does have an extra 1/4 inch of diameter, and I'm not sure if that's because that was also for ethnic reasons or something else. So there you have it. These are all of the dolls that are about as posable as we're going to get for right now. Notice, by the way, that none of them have a neck joint, so you couldn't really do too much neck-wise. The made-to-move is what's promised, and if you're really looking for an authentic ballet doll, I would say you probably want to go with the made-to-move and put Misty's head on it, or, here's a novel thought, just make her your ballerina. That way you can pose her in the full positions of ballet. The other thing to note, of course, again, is that Made to Move is a Playline doll and is considerably cheaper than both Misty and Uhura. So that's my review. I hope this helps you if you're trying to figure out what kind of a doll you want to use and what kind of diorama and how posable they are. My next comparisons in posability and height are going to be between the Integrity Toy main lines, Poppy, New Face, and Fashion Royalty. And once I do that, I think I will do a straight Mattel Integrity and see how they stack up. If that's something you want to see, by the way, tell me in the comments below. If you don't want me to bother with the Integrity comparisons, tell me that too. Take care, everybody, and I'll see you in the next review.